It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. But we have wonderful guests, and they have wonderful things to talk about. And today we're going to talk about Watt-Ahh, which is a very special water that's at its energetic peak, so to speak. And let me bring on Robgourley, who is the inventor of this water.
Well, thank
Hi,
you.
Rob. This is such a wonderful product that you had. I'm very anxious to talk about it. I use it whenever I can. It's Wata, and it's not your average water. And so, what would like you to do is to explain to the listening audience how this water is different. How is it different than any other water? Bottled water.
Okay. This is basically the structure of water that I feel was here at the beginning of time. This is a 4-2 structure. What we've done is we've actually learned that there are 5 phases of water, and the ultimate phase is a plasma gas. And what we do is we take standard water, run it through about 9 to 11 steps of purification, get it up far past pharmaceutical, and then infuse the high energy state of water, which is what we call the DiTetra Gas, which is a 4-2 structure. It's 2 oxygens bonded in a diatomic with 4 hydrogens. But what we've done is we've added electrons to the oxygens and electrons to the hydrogens, so that they're able to now donate protons from the oxygen molecule to the brain, and it also provides massive amounts of energy to the mitochondria. So it's a very different structure. Plants grow much faster. They grow in a different manner, where there's far more nutrient value in them. They're more digestible. Plants and animals grow faster. We've seen it with children who were conceived on the water and then on the Wata, so its whole life. And the children are far, far ahead of the other kids in the class. There's no comparison as to the brain development, physical development. They don't get sick, and they're just happy people, which, I hate to say it, but a lot of people in the world aren't too happy right now.
No, trying to keep that vibration up there is being a real challenge with all the things that are going on. But, it's best if people just remain an observer and do what they can to keep themselves as healthy as possible, because that helps a lot.
Yes. We've also shown that you absorb far more vitamins and minerals when you consume it with the water. But also it's very powerful on pulling the toxins, heavy metals and things out without harming the kidneys. So we've done a lot in detoxification of heavy metals. We've actually airlifted water to China twice to help a bunch of workers that were poisoned with heavy metals. And they didn't lose anybody, and they were able to get the metals out. So it's a very powerful transport, and also it's a good little red wagon for getting the garbage out.
That is fantastic, because that is something that I tell people, as a former nutritional, I was still a nutritionist. I'll probably be one all my life, but nonetheless, the fact of the matter is that staying hydrated is extremely important, and water of this nature just isn't. It actually feeds the mitochondria, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We've seen it actually will more than double the output of the mitochondria.
So there's something about this water, and like you were saying, it's got to be probably the original water, how it was when in the beginning, if there was a beginning.
I feel so. I mean, here
It's
in,
interesting that it's 4/2. It reminds me of 4/32, because that's the thing in music. So it's like,
right.
whoa, isn't that interesting? Uh, wow. Also, the other thing was signal transmission.
Well,
Like,
it enables more communication between the cells. That's one of the huge things that we've learned
mhm.
with this water, is that it allows communication of the cells. So when we heal wounds using the water topically, we don't see scarring. And the reason is that the body now can communicate and understands what to do to heal it. Scarring is lack of communications. It doesn't know what to do, so it just fills in the void with anything it can throw in there. But we've seen, virtually no scarring. It also stops pain on major burns within minutes. There's no pain.
wow.
But it's doing a lot of things that are very interesting. And the people who go through severe surgeries that are under for a long time have a real trouble recovering, because what the new anesthesias are doing are depleting the brain of protons, so the synapses can't fire and send information. The only downside of that is how do you replace them? And it's very difficult to replace protons because they're wrapped up in the oxygen molecule. And what we've found is that we can replace them normally in a matter of 30, 40 minutes, breathing the gas or drinking the water. And what's happening is by adding the electrons to the oxygen side of the equation of water, you're able to donate some of the protons. And so we've had patients that almost died after 17 hours of surgery. They dropped down to 85 pounds and they were losing them because their gut system wouldn't work, nothing worked. And within 40, 50 minutes, we had them eating and cracking jokes, and on the way they go.
That is absolutely amazing. And there's something about this water, is somehow it's similar to the water that's in fruit. As we have you
It's
Could
to
you
a
explain
degree,
that?
but it's actually probably a little closer to spinal fluid. This water is very similar to spinal fluid because it has to
Wow.
allow for the transport of energy and also information.
Wow, that's fascinating. That one wasn't aware of. So now, if you are taking, say, vitamin and mineral supplements, and you drank this water, would it help to the absorption of those nutrients within reason?
Yes, yeah. We've seen over 500% more vitamin C absorption into the blood. And we've also seen iron numbers that are up over 800%. We're in the middle of an iron study again now with one of the largest iron manufacturer supplements companies in the world. They've never really done any studies on iron per se. We have, but they haven't. And so what they're seeing is that transport of iron is very difficult, and it normally causes major inflammation in the small intestine. So as I say to the guys, if your wife's on iron supplements, after she takes one, you may want to take a little trip somewhere and then come back, because she's going to be in severe pain for probably several hours as it works its way. But they're not really absorbing any of the quantity that they're trying to. And then if they do get too much iron in, it causes other problems. And we've had people who've had iron deficiency, anemic women who are pregnant, 2 or 3 days on the water in a light supplement, they're fine. Their numbers are back in order. And they
That
don't
is
even feel it.
that is so amazing. And I know I feel better when I drink it. I really do. It does. It's different. They tell people to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Well, most people don't even come close to drinking that, and they don't absorb it either. But could you elaborate on that? Because you've studied that as well, I understand.
Well, if you drink regular water, it takes 2 hours for it to work its way into the body. It's not going to solve your problem if you're running a marathon or you're exercising heavy and you're suddenly thirsty. When your body tells you it's thirsty, it's already way too late for standard water. And so what we've found is that they normally will take somebody to the hospital who's severely dehydrated and give them an IV. Well, the chances they're probably going to do some damage to the kidney because they're trying to force feed water into the system. The kidneys don't like that. So there's more than likely you're going to have some damage to your kidneys after that. What we found is in 10, 15 minutes, just drinking a liter of Wata, they're fine. Because what it is it's absorbed because of numerous reasons. It has a very powerful electrical differential, so it will be pulled into the cells. But structurally, it's smaller. It's a much smaller cluster, so it'll actually penetrate the cell wall, plus it has the magnetic fields to pull it. So we do virtually instant hydration. I mean, I've had people, and one of our doctors was there at a conference, and one of the speakers collapsed, and he jumped up there and gave her a bottle of Watt-Ahh, and in 10 minutes she's back on the stand carrying on like nothing ever happened. Whereas the paramedics wanted to rush her off to the hospital.
Wow.
And the doctor said, no, I can help her. So we've seen that, you know, in many sports, and it also provides oxygen to the body by drinking the water, because we have climbers now who've cut the climbs on some of the tallest mountains in the world by over 50%. Normal climb is 12 to 14 hours, and they've done it in 6 hours and 1 minute with 2 bottles of Wata. Now,
Oh my word!
You know,
because of the oxygen and the
Right.
hydration as a result
Right.
of actually the result of the structure of the water.
Correct. And it's not going through you're not getting the oxygen from your lungs when you're up. You know, this mountain they climbed, the latest one they climbed was in Russia, which is 600 feet less than Everest. And you're obviously, when you come from Florida and you spend 9 hours there, your lungs have not adapted. And to climb
takes
the
about 3
hours
weeks
in
for-
6 hours and 1 minute versus 14, the Sherpas were rather startled, and he felt he could have done it in 5 if the Sherpa had been on the water. He said the Sherpa kept slowing him up because he'd come to a junction in the trail and didn't know which way to go. But see, that's showing you that it's being absorbed into the tissue, going into the blood, and then hydrating and not providing oxygen and energy to all the parts of the body. It's not going through your lungs. And that, you know, leads us into why we were so successful during COVID. We were not using the lungs to keep the patient alive and provide energy and hydration and whatnot. What we were doing was going through the back door, going into the tissue, and then into the blood, and then having it transported. So we didn't lose any of our people, you know. So
That's fantastic. Well, we lost a lot of people and never should have lost a lot of people, but that's a whole nother story. We won't go there. Not for the purposes of this thing, but I do cover that in other shows, and people have been duped about so many things, and it's so sad. But I'm very proud to have you on here and telling people about this water, because people need to detox on a daily basis, is what I meant to say earlier. We just cannot avoid the fact that we are constantly bombarded with all different kinds of toxins, poisons, you name it. And then they're even injecting it. So that's a whole another, that's a whole bad situation. But anyway, the water is transformative, really, it seems, because it gives a, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's the original smart water, because the body knows how to use it. It recognizes it. And it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory as well as a carrying agent. So this is the true smart water, because you can give it to 10 different people and they'll tell you 10 different things that they noticed. And
oh, really? That's interesting. Well, I know you.
Go ahead.
You're a good friend of mine, Sterling
Yes.
Hill, went from having some very serious conditions to deal with to being pretty much back to normal. So, and it was largely the result of the water, and she was drinking it every day.
Did you hear about Sterling's niece?
About her hair?
Yeah.
Was it her hair? Go ahead, tell the story. I don't remember all the details, but she had.
I mean, the little girl, 5-year-old girl, had alopecia, and she had no eyebrows, eyelashes, or hair on her head. And the kids in school are pretty tough at the age of 5 on each other. And so Sterling gave her one of the Mister bottles that we use and a bunch of Wata, and said, I want you to spray your face and your head constantly throughout the day. Guess what?
It grew back, all her hair. Yes, because I seen pictures. I didn't know she was spraying the head
Which showed
with water.
us that it showed us, and it. I talked to a bunch of our doctors and explained to them that it's not genetics. I don't believe alopecia is genetics. I think it's a toxin driven, and I think
Radiation.
well that, and also she at birth she may have been exposed to, you know, placenta and other things that got into the tissue that blocked it, the hair roots from growing. And by using the water, you're able to flush these out and then provide an energy source. So now the hair root goes back to doing what it's supposed to do, grow hair.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was toxin driven.
Oh, I would agree with you. Things of that nature frequently are, but it's rarely looked at as the root cause of things isn't where doctors go.
No.
They just treat the symptoms, and the symptoms can end up getting worse by just doing that because you're masking the root cause of the problem. But that's a whole nother. Being in the field of nutrition, I knew this a long time ago, but you couldn't get anywhere with a lot of physicians. So, but things are starting to change, and we're going to frequency and light and sound healing and water. I mean, what's the first thing they do to somebody when they have an accident or anything? One of the first things they do, besides giving them oxygen, because we can't live without that, the next thing is they hydrate them as best they can with the IV fluids. Mm-hmm. And so I have a company that makes liquid supplements, and I'm going to have to introduce them to Wata, because I think if they use the Wata rather than just regular purified water, their product might even be more impactful than it already is, because they use some very unique things. So what I'll do is I'm going to put you in touch with them just to have them take a look at it. And it's a company that's right here in Sedona. It's called Ambaya Gold. And
Okay.
Anyway, all their supplements are liquid, and I love that because I get tired of taking handfuls of different supplements. And if we had better water, if we had better food, we wouldn't need those things. But the fact of the matter is, we have things that have been done to our food and water. I mean, they consider municipal water dead water.
It is. And it's also carrying a lot of pretty evil memory too. Water carries memory. IBM actually developed a computer that ran on water. And the only problem was they couldn't erase the memory fast enough. They couldn't get the information out of it. But water is very unusual because it does carry memory. It does carry all sorts of things. And it also, the hydrogen in water carries the God particle, which enables life, which they've been chasing for a long time. But now they believe it resides in the hydrogen. And when you add energy,
they can't duplicate it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
They want to, though, but they can't. It's our. I don't think they can, but it's. This is as close as you can get to being as.
I agree.
Divine water, shall we say? So I find it absolutely fascinating. Now, there were a couple of other things that I was wanted to mention, and that is, if I recall, this water does not absorb radiation.
The electromagnetic radiation does not affect it, no.
So that's not. No, if it's regular, say you have some other kind, it can actually affect other water. Isn't that correct?
Truly, yes. Yeah, I mean, you can take a regular bottle of water and put it next to a mainframe or computer, or leave it parked on your cell phone. It'll poison it. And what they found with our water is they could place it on a mainframe computer for 2 weeks and there was no change in the water whatsoever.
That's fascinating right there. That is
also,
really.
Also, we're seeing people who've been treated with radiation. The tissue responds far better with our water than anything they've ever seen. people who've gone in and had late, radiation treatments, chemo radiation, and things like that. We've been able to bring the tissue back and get the bones to regrow and all sorts of things.
See, that is an awesome healing capacity that this water has for people, and it is amazing. How did you happen to discover this?
Well, it's a convoluted story, but most are. I actually started looking at water as energy source during the Jimmy Carter administration, because he had us strapped down so bad, and people were trying to figure out how to extract energy out of water. And that's where I started in it. And then I realized that if it works on a machine, it's obviously going to work on a human, because we're a machine. I mean, we burn electrons no different than a flashlight. And so that's when I started to actually conceive and design the cells that I have. And, some of it was divine intervention, and there's no question.
Mm-hmm. Many people say that when they come up with things of this nature. I do think that definitely does happen. And it's a wonderful part of this. And it couldn't have happened at a better time for people, because it is something that they need to detox and need to hydrate their bodies and to get as healthy as they possibly can, because everything that we're going through is affects everybody. I mean, you can try to just be an observer, but just even being, from what I understand, if you're dehydrated, it can affect your moods. It can affect your thinking and cognitive abilities.
You're talking only 2% dehydration. 2% dehydration will make you basically, very vulnerable. That's where the athletes, they don't get hurt at the first 2/3 of the game. It's the last third that they get hurt in, because they're dehydrated, and now they're not thinking straight, and then they can't react quick enough to something that's coming their way, and then they get mowed down. Or the cyclist will stick a foot in the spokes because he missed the pedals. Your brain's not functioning. I mean, it's just 2% dehydration is damaging in a big way to you. And the trick is that standard water takes forever to hydrate you, and it's not going to help you during the crisis. Whereas what we're doing, it picks you up right now. I mean, it was a conference that Dan and I went to, and it was about natural healing. And the speaker was a very energetic guy, and after about an hour and a half, he just suddenly stopped, and he says, I'm just not feeling right. And so I walked up there and handed him 2 bottles. And I said, drink one of these, and in a few minutes, come to see how you feel. He was back in 10 minutes, going faster than he was at the beginning. And then he came to me at the end of this program.
What did you put in that bottle?
That was his question. What the hell's in this stuff? What drugs in here?
Did you put speed in here? Oh, that's hilarious. So energetically speaking, it can, energize you as well. Part of that is, I'm sure, related to the hydration factor.
But it's also providing the energy to the mitochondria, which is driving the cells. We've had our old cat finally passed away, which is very sad, but we have a new young cat. And, just like the old one, when she got into the Wata-Ahh, it was, look out, this cat's lit. She's going to go up the wall, over the top of you, up the curtains, and everywhere else. And the kitten's the same way. It goes right up the screens now. It'll go right up to the ceiling on the screens on one eye.
Look out when you put up a Christmas tree.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? And, I mean, it's
having fun.
Oh yeah, but it lights them up like rocket fuel. I mean, they're just crazy.
That's awesome. Let's see. What about didn't a company, I don't know if it was a company or what, but it's called Dancing with Water.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they take Wata and do some major studies and try to test everything that had been said, and were actually ended up being flabbergasted about how good it really is?
Oh, they came up with a whole new chapter in their book on it. They said this is like nothing they've ever tested. And what they also, very interesting, because in the past you've mentioned frequencies. this water has certain frequencies embedded in it that are very unusual. And it took them a long time to figure out what the frequencies were. And now they're starting to get a little more grasp of how complicated this water actually is. And, but there are certain frequencies that are embedded in it that, and we've shown the same structure after 10 years in the bottle. The water has not changed at all. And that's what really shocked them and also shocked the people with the GVD cameras, the gas visual discharge cameras that test water all over the world, that this is the only water that's been changed, and it's a permanent change. Most waters fall apart within 20, 30 minutes. Either you spin them or you try to add hydrogen to them, which won't bond. We're adding electrons to a stable structure and actually changing how the molecules put together. And it's stable.
Yeah, electrons are what we need to detoxify, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you're actually able to add, how many electrons do you add? 2 or 4? Or
on each water molecule, we're adding at least 4 to the hydrogens, if not more, because when we've done the hydrogen fuel tests with our hydrogen from the gas we produce, it's more than twice the energy output. So there are a few extras tagging along. And then what we noticed in the brain studies that we've been working with on people who have severe brain injuries is that we're providing protons to the brain virtually instantly, which means that we're adding a large number to the 2 rings of the oxygen molecule. So it can now pull a proton out of the center and donate protons, which is very difficult to do. No one's been able to do that. And we've been very successful at that. And so, but it took us a while to figure out why we were seeing such dramatic effects in any serious amount of time. I've been talking 30, 40 minutes. And we're seeing people who haven't spoken in 4 years now, asking, can we keep doing this? I really like it. And they haven't spoken in 4 years. So all of a sudden, the brain is kicking back in gear. We have clinics now that are doing major amounts of eye repair and eye healing. And, they've even helped people who were blind for 20 years get back full eyesight. They're using the gas infused into the eyes. And it's completely changing what we're seeing.
Now, is that I think I remember something about it helping macular degeneration too.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
They say, they tell people that that's incurable, that you can't, it's too bad you're going blind kind of thing. And you're finding that with this gas applied to the eyes, that's no longer the case. Is that correct?
See, the front 2/3 of the eye is completely hydrated and energized through the oil and the tear ducts, the water from the tears. Well, that's why dry eye is so critical. If you have dry eye symptoms, you're killing your eye because only the back third of the eye has blood flow to it. Otherwise, our vision would really be impaired if we had all these blood vessels going throughout the whole eye. And so it all comes through the water and the oil. Well, what we've shown is we can actually add electrons to oil in some of our fuel studies we've been doing. And it'll actually transfer around. We can use it in a fuel in the engine, but we can also see the additional electrons in the engine oil itself, which stunned a bunch of the scientists who were working on it. They all fell over on that one. And they went, whoa, what's going on here? So it's very, very effective on donating protons and electrons to the body, which is what we need. And, it's not foreign. The body doesn't fight it. It's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory, which is key. Because once things get, especially with the eye, inflammation is what causes wet and dry macula. Because it's pinching the back blood flow or the return out of the eye, which is causing a rise in the pressures. Once you can reduce that inflammation, now the pressure drops. And then by using the gas in the eyes, the optic nerve can start to repair and the retina can come back and all these other things and start to do their job and get the eye back to function.
Wow. That's amazing because eyesight is so important. I mean, all of our senses are important, but, being blind is a real drag, I'm sure. Uh, and losing your sight has to be very frightening for people. And
Yes, I mean,
just to know that there's a way to fix it, that can improve it at the very least. We always have to be careful of what we say or how well we say it because of
correct.
our
We're
lovely
enabling the body. I'm
Federal
not
Death
curing.
Association.
Yeah, I'm not really curing anything. I'm giving the body the tools to do it. We don't have, I mean, as
Itself.
humans and as humans ourselves, we don't have the ability to go up and touch somebody and heal them. I mean, I'm sorry, we just don't. But you can give their body the tools it needs to repair itself. And that's where this water comes in.
And that's the beauty of it, because that's really self-healing is really what it's all about. But giving your body the tools that it needs to be able to do that
Correct.
is critical.
Correct.
And
That all boils down to communication between the cells, being able to read the DNA to understand what's supposed to be going on. It's then providing energy to the cells so they can actually do it. And then also it's a redox molecule because it's calling in a massive number of stem cells. But we're also providing the energy for them. So our healing is in a fraction of the time what normal healing is. That's some of the magic.
So calling in the stem cells, can you elaborate on that a little more? Because that's critical too.
Right. That was what they call it, redox signaling, and that was discovered by the Germans, I believe, in the 1950s. That when you wound yourself or inflammation, what it does is it causes, I kind of describe it as, you and I would remember these, a lot of the youngers would have never seen them, but on the corner in the city, there were these little red boxes, which were the fire boxes. And you would break the glass with a little hammer and you tap on it how many times, if it was a big fire or a little fire, 1 hit or up to 5 hits. And it told them if it's a 1 alarm or a 5 alarm fire. So now the fire department knew to send guys to deal with it. What a redox molecule does is it sends out a signal and tells the body, and it summons the stem cells, and it'll tell them if it's a little fire or a big fire. The trick is to tell them it's a big fire when it's not. And, we've seen cuts and wounds disappear overnight because a whole bunch of them came in. It's like digging a swimming pool. If I had 1,000 guys show up with a shovel, they could dig your swimming pool in 10 minutes. If I had two guys show up, it's probably going to take them a month.
Yeah. That works well with moving too, I noticed. But anyway, that's just fascinating. I am so excited about this. I just want to see this expand to more parts of the country. Now, right now, are there any clinics in the West that utilize the gas, or would people have to come to Florida if they wanted to be treated, or?
Well, we have some in Florida. We do have a company that's working with Dr. Campbell in Miami now that want to open 2 other clinics, and I believe they're a California-based company. They're doing a lot of eye healing and other healing. It's based completely on our technology with the machine behind me, one of the WIT machines, and they're looking at expanding. But they're getting their feet wet and learning what they can do, what works for them. So.
Now that machine, how does that machine operate? I mean, that sounds kind of silly, but it's the one that makes the
gas.
The gas itself.
Right. Now, another clinic that just came on with us was the Sentner Institute over in Florida, in Miami. Layla Sentner is the one that owns it. She's a very prominent woman in Miami, and she has probably one of the top healing clinics out there. She's got every modality that you've ever seen, and she invited us to have our equipment over there, and she's been using it massively herself for all sorts of things, and everything from sleep apnea to, she's got 2 schools she runs with the teachers and all the other people that she helps. But she's a new clinic that just opened, and she's very excited about the water and the gas and what it can do. And she's actually looking at doing immersion tanks for healing major burns and wounds and things like that.
Wow.
So,
When I was worked in hospitals, I could not work on the burn unit. I just I couldn't handle seeing the pain, and it just I'm empathic, so I just couldn't handle it. I mean, I felt the pain is what it boils down to. So
This
um,
stops it completely.
that's amazing.
I mean, I've had people with wounds and
Without
burns,
drugs.
right, that have burned themselves to the point where the hide is coming off when you're washing the wound, the hand. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I've got photos I could send to you that are just
Oh,
incredible.
please do.
And,
I will share them
and
with
you know,
some
we've done
people.
gangrene for the military and other people. You know, the water will create an environment it can't survive in. I feel gangrene's a fungus. I don't think they understand it. That's why they've never been successful at it. But if you
I,
create an environment it can't live in, you're not poisoning it, but you're causing it to die, and then you're giving the body the ability to heal because you're giving the communication and everything else and the energy. And I'll send you some photos on that. Some of those are really grisly. I mean, oh my God, they're grisly.
wow. Yeah, please do. I would really like to see this. I want to get this out in this area somehow, some way, because there are a lot of people that would benefit. Actually across the country, but everything is, costs a lot of money and that kind of thing. But I just really see a place for it here in Sedona, Arizona. And I think a lot of people would benefit. But first off, I'm going to even look into the Ambaya gold and see and talk about the water being used as the water rather than regular purified water, because it would all the nutrients would be absorbed better and
Oh,
make it even more miraculous art. She calls her liquids high frequency nutrition, high frequency liquid
okay.
nutrition, and so it's liquid based. So therefore, that would probably be a really great addition. What about? I noticed something about adding a little bit of salt to the water. That's kind of like supplying the body with what they give to people when they've been hurt or whatever. You add a little bit of salt to the water. I just read that they had mentioned that in the Dancing with Water. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, I mean, some of the Celtic salts I think are the better ones because they have like 140 some odd minerals mixed with them.
That's the one I use.
Right. And what we recommend is if you're going to consume massive quantities of our water, which some people do, some people drink 4 or 5 bottles a day.
Wow.
And I mean, they're doing incredible, but just to add, on one bottle, just add a little pinch of Celtic salt to it because, your body does.
The kind you have to grind it and it's moist. That's
Right.
Celtic salt. Yeah, that's
Right.
my favorite salt. That's important too. I don't have it here to show people, but maybe I will on another show. So then they're going to absorb all the minerals. Like you
Correct.
said, there's 104, and people are grossly deficient in minerals.
Mm-hmm.
We have nasty heavy metals blocking our pathways, our metabolic pathways, and interfering with, absorption, all kinds of things. And here we have a water which will actually help remove that and still be able to nourish the tissues even before it's all removed. Would that be a true statement?
That's true. That's very accurate.
It's just amazing. I am people with migraine headaches are helped. You mentioned
We've seen a lot of that, but just backing up for a second there, what we've seen on some of the work we've done with the special ops in the military is that 4 liters of regular water in the brain is not properly hydrated. 1 liter of Wata in the brain is fully hydrated. So it's more than 4 to 1 more powerful hydration, and it will hydrate the brain where standard water will not, because the blood-brain barrier won't allow it to cross, but our water goes right across.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, that's what's interesting about that. You mentioned the Sherpas before, and they usually use those people are usually guides because they've had some almost a physiological adaptation to living at 18,000 feet.
Right.
So I would imagine that if they drank the Wata, in addition
Oh,
to
God.
their already genetic changes that have taken place, that they would have remarkable abilities in terms of endurance and otherwise. So I have a product that I carry that's called Shilajit that the Sherpas collect in high altitudes, which also has a liquid base. I've mentioned this to these people, but it takes a while before somebody will actually look into it.
Now, I mean, here's proof for you in Miami. We have skydivers that work with us that are jumping at 22,000 feet, taking off at Miami Airport, which is what, 6 inches above sea level? I mean, come on, there's no hills over there.
Uh-huh.
And they're going up to 22,000 feet without oxygen and jumping with just a 1 liter bottle of Watt-Ahh strapped to their chest with a sippy straw. And then when they watch the blood ox drop, they just take a swig of water and it comes right back down. So they're saying now we've given them three times the altitude for skydiving, which makes it fun now. If you're jumping at 7,000 feet, it's kind of a short drop before you have to pull the chute. But if you're jumping at 22,000 feet, you got a good ride coming down.
Wow, that still seems scary to me, but I don't. It would be. I bet it's a high, though. I mean, there's probably no high like it. And pardon the pun about being high, but it's a different kind of high when you went through it.
But he just set a new speed record at high altitude jumping. Because see, he doesn't have to carry oxygen tanks. Everyone else is jumping at higher elevation is carrying oxygen tanks and face mask and oxygen regulator and all this other garbage. So it slows them down in their speed dives.
Oh, wow.
So he jumps at 22,000 feet and he's about naked as a jaybird. And he points it toward the ground at 213 mile an hour. He has it recorded and holds the Guinness record now. He said, I could have gone faster, but he says, I was took the world record, and he says there's no problem. He says I didn't have any problems.
Wow.
And so it's changed the game there, but it's going through the tissue into the blood, into the body, not going through the lungs, because his lungs he's not pouring water in his lungs. He's drinking it, but it's going directly into the tissue in the mouth and the throat and on the way down.
So the body's getting oxygenated without using the lungs, like you were
Correct.
saying earlier.
Correct.
Which is amazing. And wow. This is what other stores you have? You have some other ones? That's really good.
There's quite a few. I mean, there's so many things, good things that we've seen, and there's YouTubes out there on the effects of what we've done, and some of them are just amazing.
So let me share the screen and show the audience your Wata page. Okay, I'm going to bring that up.
Okay.
And share it. There we go. You went away, Rob. Where are you?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
In the side.
Oh, okay.
I can see you on the side.
All right. So here is the website. I just made it larger so people can see it. I guess I have to go back to the other size, though, be able to move it around. But defense against oxidative stress, natural energy for smart brains. Oh, inflammation, aging. That's a good one. Alleviate discomfort. All of these different things that we've talked about, there's so much information on the site. Wait a minute. Let me go back to the site for a minute so I can. Here it is. Where about Wata? If you can see, there's what is it, the benefits, what can you do for me, the purification process, the potential uses, defense against oxidative stress, natural energy, all the things we've been talking about. Then he also has on here studies, many testimonials, I would think any professional athlete that, you know, is serious would be using this water if they knew about it. And that's probably the secret there. You even have beauty listed. And I remember when I first used Wata, I bought one of those misters and I spray it on my face. And that's another thing. Oh, I went to the blog. So you have a blog and all kinds of information there for people. So if you want to go to this website, it's aquanew.com, and that is listed in the.
Right.
So let me get back to you.
Yeah, some of the latest things we're doing now is we're infusing the gas into fuels. Gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and things like that. And we've come up with a way to actually have some of the internal combustion engines, the ICE engines as we call them, be more efficient than the electric cars.
Oh, the electric cars, that's a joke. That's not going to save any energy. You'd be lucky if you don't burn up in them, for one thing. But anyway, I'm not seeing you though, Rob. I got a blank. I got a blank screen on my end. I don't know why.
Hey, Dana, she can't see me for some reason. Why is I'm not on? I'm on this one, but she's not on hers.
Mm-hmm. That's very unusual.
Yeah. I'm seeing myself there. Mm-hmm. I don't understand.
I don't either.
Computers and I don't like each other, but you know.
Me either. Maybe that's the problem.
I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Huh. Well, I don't know how to fix that at the moment. So, so now the newest area that you're moving into has to do with using it in fuels.
Correct.
And engines, and they're getting good results with that as well. Correct?
Yes, we're getting incredible results. We're seeing on some of the diesels 50 to 60% improvement in fuel economy, and the emissions are virtually non-existent. But the big thing on the emission side, which I have been arguing for years, and now I'm starting to listen a little, is the thermal loading. What's happened is when you don't burn fuels efficiently, there's a tremendous amount of heat that goes off into the atmosphere, which you've gained nothing from. And what we're seeing is the thermal loading is dropping dramatically. When we did testing with Robbie Gordon up in North Carolina at one of the NASCAR greats, we saw almost a 500-degree drop in exhaust temps, but we saw a doubling of the horsepower in mid-range and a doubling of the torque and 30% less fuel, which absolutely dropped his jaw on the floor. But you could actually touch the exhaust manifolds on an engine that's running full horsepower, and it wouldn't burn you.
Oh my God!
And he was going, I don't understand this. He said, this is magic. And I said, no, it's not magic. It's chemistry. And so I spent several days with him and explained to him all the chemistry, and he goes, holy Christmas, now I understand what you're doing. But I mean, we can burn fossil fuels cleanly. I mean, the exhaust emissions would not kill you. It might give you a headache a little over time, but they're not going to kill you. If you lock yourself in the garage and try to kill yourself, it's going to be a long day, and it's not going to happen because the exhaust emissions were only CO2, oxygen, and water. So,
well, this is absolutely amazing what you've discovered, and all the different uses that are coming out. I'm sure there's more that haven't even been thought of at this point in time. But it's absolutely fascinating to be able to be working with such an amazing product and its beneficial effects on the human body as well. Like you said, I think it is the original water. Let me see. I mentioned a little bit about the skin, but you could actually take those misters and spray it right in your eye too, couldn't you?
Correct.
I mentioned a little. Pardon?
I don't know. I heard something on the computer. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't either. That's weird. And your picture is still gone, so I don't know what's going on there. So, at least on my end. Of the scan.
Something's going on. Dana's trying to watch on her side and is making sounds. I don't know.
Huh.
Weird. But no,
That is weird.
We're continuing to explore all the many avenues. And on the main Aquanu website, you can actually drop down to the WIT site, which is Water Ion Technologies, which is the parent company we created, which goes into some of the projects we're working on. And the latest is the jet engine we're working with now to show reduction in fuel emissions and also for greater performance and burn. We don't know the numbers yet, but we're getting ready to find out. But I think we can show a dramatic reduction in fuel and tremendous increase in engine life and also in power. Wow.
Well, I don't mean to skip back to something, but I want to bring this up because it says making an Ormus enhanced elixir using bamboo salt. Well, what's amazing about this to me is I use bamboo salt. It's the best tasting. I mean, if you can have a best tasting salt, it's different. And I really liked it. And they said that it was bamboo salt's an Ormus rich salt made in Korea using a process developed over 1,000 years ago. And apparently they have used it with a tiny pinch of it in a liter of Wata, releases the Ormus salts and leaves a unique energetic imprint. So another way to use the water to have it have even greater impact on your body. So, well, since we, are there any other things that you might like to mention that we could bring up before we go?
No, I think that's it for right now. I mean,
we covered a lot of ground. I mean, it's amazing what this water can do. And I highly recommend that you at least try it. Like I said, I drink it on a regular basis whenever I can. It is, the shipping is annoying, but that's just the way it is. But I love the product, and so do a lot of other people, and people have had miraculous results. So at the very least, I hope you take a look at this website and think about trying this wonderful water product. It's not just any water. It's energetically peaked water. Wouldn't that be what you would say?
Yes. Thank you.
No, right. So thank you so much. Let me get rid of the share screen here and bring you back on, but you're not exactly there, and I still haven't figured out what happened there. But I guess that's time to end the show. So
okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing and the research and the things that you found out. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Okay, you too.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers. Stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and see destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show